Hello and welcome to another episode of the Dan Show. We haven't done this in a while, but here we are. And today on the show, we've got lots to talk about as always. There's the holiday season, as you know, we're in the month of December, and as
La la
happens
la la
every
la
year in the
la
month of
la la
December,
la.
there's oh look, or if you heard that, let me actually make a quick introduction first. Max, how are you doing today?
I am great, Dan. Thanks for inviting me to your show. It's been a hot minute since the last time I got the chance to nerd with you about all the good stuff. So yeah, thank you. Pleasure to be back. So thanks for the invite.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a hot minute is, I think it's been a hot 10 minutes or something like that. It's been a
Yeah,
long time.
it's been
Um,
a long.
yeah, what I was gonna,
I've been ill. I've been traveling. We've been moving. You've been busy. I've been busy. Yeah, life
yeah,
happens.
there's a lot happening. I mean, there's been so many things. Like, I think the last time we had you on the show, it was like we were talking about Barbenheimer and that hadn't happened yet.
Yeah.
So it's like so much has happened since. And it's crazy. Like we had the actors strike, the writers strike. And I mean, you've probably been to like 5 countries in that time, and come full circle all the way back to Switzerland, which is a beautiful place to be in, especially if that's your full circle place. I think that's better than what most people would be able to say for themselves. Like, I'm in New England, and it's like you go out there, we're kind of past the fall months. So now like all the leaves are gone. Now just the trees are just
Mm,
bare. Everything's frozen over. And the sun goes down way too early. That's kind of our normal.
yeah.
So
But trust me, like after not witnessing a proper winter, like proper seasons in the last few years, it's so good to have winter, to have this cozy, warm feeling when you get inside. So I know what you mean, but at the same time, I cannot relate at the moment. At the moment, I'm all about cold and wetness and snow and bring on winter.
no, hey, look, I used to live in a climate where it was 40 degrees Celsius like every day. And a
Hmm.
good day was like 33 degrees Celsius, which like up here in New England, living here now for many years, like 33 degrees Celsius would be like what, 100 degrees Fahrenheit or something, or close to it.
Same.
That would be that would be like considered one of the hottest days of the year, not a
Yeah.
cooler day. Like so yeah, I do remember when I was used to that kind of climate, like even like a mildly cool day by New England standards would
Yeah.
feel freezing.
Yeah.
But you enjoy the variety, like, so I appreciate, yeah,
Mm.
I appreciate what you're saying. And I'm sure, like, in Switzerland you get the best of everything, and with the weather, like you're getting the warm days, the cool days. I'm sure you've been up in the mountains already. I've seen your Instagram, so
By the way, guys, we
yeah.
are going to talk about movies. We just need to do our weather
Yeah,
chat.
check in. Yes, we're talking about the weather. It's definitely an interesting time of the year. And I think the weather is pertinent because I was mentioning earlier, it's the holiday season, it's December. And
Yes.
not only is the weather a little bit cooler this time of year, you also start to get a lot of holiday movies. I've already seen
Mm.
so many. You go into a department store or something like that, and there's like Christmas music playing. They've got decorations out. Go around neighborhoods. People have already put up their lights. And this year we're getting a bunch of holiday movies, although probably not as many as we used to, because I feel like for some reason this year more than ever, I'm noticing so many more holiday movies are streaming only. And a lot of the movies that are coming out in theaters, well, a lot of them got moved out because of the strikes, and they want to delay the release. So like
Mm.
Dune, which was going to come out in November, got pushed, and a bunch of other movies did too. Like that Bike Riders movie that Disney was going to put out through 20th Century Fox or 20th Century Studios, that is completely off their schedule. And it has like Austin Butler and Tom Hardy and Jodie Comer,
Wow. That's
and
incredible cast. What a shame.
it's off their schedule, and now they're shopping it with other studios. They're like, somebody else want to buy it? Anybody?
Oh my
Anybody?
God.
I don't know what's going on, but like the point, I mean, that movie wasn't really a holiday film, but what I'm trying to say is like the holiday movie schedule has thinned out a little bit, and you're getting your usual Netflix holiday movies, or you're getting your Lifetime movies. Those are all out there. Like you want to just
Yeah.
watch a very simple holiday film where some, a woman or man goes into a quaint town, leaves their busy job, city life behind, falls in love, and then all of a sudden becomes like the talk of the town. And when that's if that's your 90-minute TV movie, you're gonna get like hundreds of them. Hulu has
Yeah.
added like so many of them, and Hulu's also adding like Elf, like all the classics. It's like, in fact, they have all these classic holiday Christmas movies, and yes, that apparently does include Die Hard, that are and even The Abyss. I don't know why The Abyss and of course Elf. Like they're all playing in like local
Yeah.
AMC theaters and other theaters nearby where I am.
Wow.
You can go watch it like once a day at 1 p.m. You can go watch a classic holiday movie that's back in theater. However, there are still a few good, you would say, Christmassy holiday season movies that are on the schedule for theatrical release. And amongst those, of course, we have Wonka. Wonka is a film that I've been super excited to go see, and this
Oh,
and
really?
it's because
why
yeah,
is that? Because to be fair, when they announced it, I was not too excited. I was just like, oh, okay, that was sort of expected.
I
Why were
wasn't
you
initially
excited?
excited. No, this is something. So here's the thing. I wasn't excited by it when they first released the original trailer. And the reason for that is, because the first trailer didn't impress me all that much. I mean, there were people out there who were like, "Oh my God, this looks amazing." Because there's a lot of fans of Timothée Chalamet out there, and he's obviously on a tear, and the guy
Cult.
deserves
You
the
mean the
merits.
cult of followers? This guy is some.
Yes, that's that. You could say that. You could
Yeah.
definitely say that. He's definitely got a bit of a cult fellowship. I don't know what the word is, but anyway, fellowship.
Love
No,
it.
that's not right.
Love it.
But can you imagine Willy Wonka and Fellowship of
Of the
never
ring.
mind,
Of the chocolate.
of the chocolate rings? I don't know.
Chocolate
That's
rings. Chocolate
uh,
flowers.
yeah. My
In this
brain connects weird dots in weird ways. But anyway, the first trailer wasn't all that interesting because it didn't. Here's the thing. I'm in the minority when I say this, and I completely realize that you can hit me all you want, but I prefer the Johnny Depp version of the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory because it
like
just
many.
felt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like growing up, I read that. So I used to live in Manchester, England, for a little bit, and I was there for 3 years growing up. And I was there when I was in primary school and a little bit of high school, and we read like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, all these Roald Dahl books. I was in a book club. Like after school, you go to this part of the cafeteria, and they had like this lounging area, and you just read books. And yeah, so we would read books, and Roald Dahl books were hugely popular. So I remember read like very fondly like all those Roald Dahl stories, including Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and then watching Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the 1971 film. That one, it wasn't. It always came
With
across as
Gene
like
Wilder.
it was more about Willy Wonka than it was about Charlie, right? Like, and then if you read the book, Roald Dahl's like original,
Exactly.
no, I just
And
felt
that's
like,
exactly what this movie tried to kind of point out, that the gene. So for those of you who don't know, so the Wonka movie that's coming out this month is it's a prequel to Gene Wilder version, not Johnny Depp version. That's why this movie is solely about him. I mean, it's even called Wonka. Obviously, there are other characters that are important, but yeah, it's no Charlie, as of yet.
yeah, and look, ultimately that Johnny Depp version of the movie hit me in all the right places in the sense that it felt
But okay,
very
so what
imaginative,
made you
right?
excited in the end?
What made me excited in the end was, I think, the second and third. Okay, all right. I'm
the
pretty simple with
trailer,
some of this.
done. You could just say the trailer.
No, well, it wasn't just the trailer. It wasn't. Here's the
Okay.
thing: none of the trailers impressed me as a whole,
It's
because
hard.
what I saw here, this is
Yeah.
not the brand of Willy Wonka that I quite enjoy. But okay, so I love watching Rowan Atkinson. So anything with,
Okay.
and
I
the
was not
more,
expecting you to go
so
towards that end of the story, but yeah, okay.
yeah, so
Rowan
I
Atkinson.
think they started showing more of his douchebaggery in the movie, and
Mhm.
the more of that I saw, I'm like, okay, I'm probably not gonna like the Timothee Chalamet portrayal of Willy Wonka, and I certainly don't like the whole animated Oompa Loompa, because I really love the way they did Oompa Loompas in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. But anyway, um, but I was like, Rowan Atkinson, yes, I can go watch Mr. Bean any day, all day, please more.
Yeah,
So
national
that's the
treasure.
reason why I'm excited. Yeah, he's an absolute
Okay.
national treasure.
Well, I'm sorry to break it to you. There is not that much Rowan Atkinson in the Wonka
Oh
movie.
man, no,
Yeah,
come on,
sorry.
that's not cool. Um,
But on the upside, you get to fall in love with a lot of other actors, especially like a big one for me was Olivia Colman in this one. I think we should maybe put some context. So I went to see Wonka last night at my early screening. Thank you, Dan, for pitching it to me. After quick research, I realized you actually are able to see it on some of the early screenings. So those of you who have some art cinemas around you, definitely check out the website. You might need to pay a little bit more, but you may be able to see Wonka earlier than next week. But yeah, I went to see it last night, and I was filled. I'm in Switzerland, as Dan already mentioned, and that there were two screenings of Wonka happening simultaneously. So there was the German version, like German dub, because Switzerland loves to dub their movies, and there was the English one with German and French subtitles. It's the whole thing in Switzerland. But anyway, both screenings were half full. So even though it was an early, more exclusive, more pricey event, on Wednesday evening, both cinemas were half full, which I think it's really, really good for a movie coming out on Wednesday, and especially something that's a bit more exclusive. And yeah, I must say, it's incredible. Like, sorry, Dan, I watched the trailer, felt nothing. So the poster, felt nothing. Even though Timothee Chalamet, I felt nothing. I don't know. I kind of lost the whole Timothee thing after June. I just felt June felt so. There was no wow enough for me to, I don't know, to care. But oh my goodness, to my surprise, I thoroughly enjoyed the movie from start to finish. However, I must say the first half of the movie was much stronger than the other half. But yeah, so that's sort of my main impression. When is it coming out in the US for you guys?
it's coming out on December 15th.
Okay.
It's still about a week away from when we are recording this, and um, yeah, it's bowing internationally a little bit early,
Mhm.
about a week or so.
How is
I
it
think
doing in the box office?
it's doing really well actually. So I mean, it's already on Rotten Tomatoes. You got a bunch of critics who reviewed it, and it's sitting at 85%,
Oh
and it's
wow.
got like 89 reviews, which is a pretty good number. I mean, that's probably going to go up to like 200 or so, but by the time it's all said and done, and the number might drop a little bit. I mean, 85 isn't like 94. Like it's not like
Yeah.
universally like, but like yeah, it's still a vast majority of the people like the movie. And then when you look at the box office, I pulled up this article on Deadline, and they mentioned that this is currently playing in 37 international markets. When I say international, I'm of course outside of North America, and including Switzerland, where Max you are, and as well as other places like UK, Japan, Mexico,
Mm.
and a bunch of other what they're called major markets outside of the North American market, including Brazil, for example. So Spain, Germany, a
Wow.
bunch of European markets, and it's already made like a $30 million head start, which is not bad for a holiday movie. Holiday movies tend to, even if they don't have huge starts, this is why Avatar movies have always made so much money, is because
Yeah.
they come out in the holiday season. Usually nobody is putting movies out in January anyway. So when you put
Mm,
out a movie in the middle of December, you already have like the 6 weeks where basically if you are a big enough of a film, you don't have any competition. And I know Wonka's
mhm,
gonna have The Color Purple, which is another Warner Brothers movie, and then Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, another Warner Brothers movie. So there's gonna be a
mm.
lot of, and then other there's a few others out there too, rom-coms and other smaller films. But if for as far as a holiday musical goes, it's firmly gonna be probably the only
Yeah,
of its kind this year.
that was
So
that
it
was
will have
another
time to
big
make money.
thing.
Yeah.
The musical aspect of it. It was like, oh, seriously, there's a musical. But do you know what was a great thing about this being a musical? The fact that normally in the musicals, the whole narrative stops. You know, like the movie is just kind of on a standstill when there is the dance and the song happening in the movie.
Yeah.
They like what's the name of the director? Oh my goodness.
Paul
Paul
King.
King. Paul King.
Yeah.
Paul King, he did something very clever with all those musical pieces, which there weren't that many. He used them as something to drive the plot forward. So whenever there was, first of all, the song and the dance pieces were very short. You weren't getting bored, you weren't getting overwhelmed. There was the right balance of that to catch up with the narrative and the story. And yeah, as I said, the narrative, the story was just moving forward with the musical pieces. It was something unique, something that I can't remember the last musical I saw that did something similar. Something that, you know, after first few verses, I wasn't like, okay, moving on. What now? Like, take me back to the story. The songs weren't pulling you out of the story. That was really, really cool.
Yeah, I was gonna actually ask you, because of course when they're adapting Charlie and the Chocolate Factory in both iterations, it's like there's songs every few minutes, and I don't know, is that, I forget, is that like based on what happens in the book or not? But a lot of it seems in those movies, it's like the Oompa Loompas show up and all of a sudden we have like a dance and song. How was it like motivated? Like where does the singing and and dancing come from in this movie? Is it just they just burst into song out of nowhere, or what's the motivation? Is there a story-based motivation for why all that is happening?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think also you can what Paul King did, it was actually very clever. There is like the subtle music and subtle instruments starting off in the background. The songs aren't every few minutes. They're more every 15, 20 minutes. They're not intrusive. As I said, they don't pull you out of the story. It's a very nice balance of when they use pieces, the music pieces. And they're more used to sort of enhance the character or the mood of the place. And you know how musicals actually, the musicals usually do it, but with this movie, this, for some reason, this really worked. What Paul King did like really nicely was, despite him not, has he done musical before? No, he hasn't, right? That was
He
his
did
first musical.
Paddington.
Was
Does
Paddington a musical? I don't remember
that's what I was
any
gonna say.
song pieces.
I think there was singing in Paddington, wasn't there?
I
I can't
haven't. So
remember.
it's been years since I've seen Paddington. So yeah, for those of you who don't know, Paddington is this national treasure, and Paddington 2 is considered one of the best movies ever made. And apparently, if you watch Paddington and you're not emotional at some point of the movie, then there is something seriously wrong with you. It's
Yeah,
beautiful. It's a beautiful
I mean, it makes it
movie.
worse that I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
But that's all I've
Yeah.
been told. Apparently, there was that Nick Cage movie where he's playing himself, and he's like Paddington 2. Paddington 2 is like the greatest movie ever made, or like the
Yeah.
Paddington movies are the greatest. Yeah, it was.
It
Yeah,
actually is, and there's so many references made in Wonka. So for those of you who are fans of Paddington, definitely try to fish them out. I didn't get too many, but there is some of them there. But yeah, hearing that Paul King is directing a new family movie should be a pretty easy sell, and yeah, it is. The movie very much maintains this family warming, having fully good intention, really like heartwarming movie that you want to see during festive seasons. It really ticked that box for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and while Paul King isn't necessarily known for doing a lot outside of the Paddington movies, I mean, you look at his resume, he's got a few other things on there, but nothing. I think
Nothing
Paddington
stands
movies are
out.
the highest profile projects outside of Wonka. So this is definitely a big step up for him, working with a much more well-known IP than even Paddington is. And yeah, I think at the end of the day, when you look at the way this movie was shot, the production design, I one thing I still struggle to believe, how does this connect to like the Gene Wilder version of the movie? I is that official? Is that a thing? Is that really a thing?
Yeah, it's officially the prequel to Gene Wilder version. It's because you get to see, first of all, you do kind of see some of the mannerisms. So maybe let's talk about Timothee Chalamet's performance. The very first thing I put in my notes was charming, flamboyant, full of panache, elegant, funny, bit of craziness, charismatic. That was like first 5 minutes of Timothee on the screen. And he really managed to have those both elements of Gene Wilder and Johnny Depp, which was really, really cool. That despite it being this direct prequel to Gene Wilder one, he still managed to kind of give a little bit of a, I don't know, what's the word? Like a little bit of a nod to Johnny Depp's version. So
Yeah.
it was really cool. Like I mean, maybe that wasn't intentional, but I have definitely seen some of the mannerisms or some of the way of being. Because as we know, Willy Wonka is a very eccentric, very special, very interesting character. And what Timothée managed to do was also to show so much more emotional depth, understanding, care, a lot more human emotions, despite him being this eccentric, crazy chocolate maker. There was just so much more of a human in him than just a genius, crazy genius person. Yeah. Does
Yeah, I
that
was
make
gonna say,
sense?
because Gene Wilder, like, you don't really get to see the soft side of Gene Wilder in that original movies. Like
Exactly.
you,
Yeah.
yeah. Could you like, and I always wonder, because and that's one of the reasons why I prefer the Johnny Depp version of the movie, because when you look at the Johnny, you get, especially the way that movie ends, and like the whole reunion with his dad and stuff. I mean, the late great Christopher Lee. It's just that movie, I
Oh yeah.
think.
Right.
Yeah, so I always felt like those were the reasons why that Gene Wilder movie didn't connect with me on that. Look, it was fantastical, great, and all that, but there were a lot of elements there as far as like the being relatable in a like a more poignant way. I think so. Is that you
Yeah.
get a lot more of that with Wonka? You're saying, right?
Exactly. He has the same struggles, the same issues as we all do. And I think that was the beautiful part about Wonka, that despite it being this Christmas movie that's full of magic and crazy things, and just hilarious, crazy things, there is a lot of points of reflection and our own relationship to the world, to the people around us, to our families. And that was really, really special thing to witness in a magical movie. And I think that was the part of Paddington. I think that's what Paul King really mastered, this juxtaposition of a magical setup, completely unrealistic scenarios, but dealing with human emotions and things that we all care about and things that we can all relate to. Yeah. And something I need to mention before I forget is Olivia Colman, who portrayed this. She played this crazy like innkeeper who was running the scam on her tenants essentially, and there's a whole thing. But she,
How does that, wait, hold on. How does that connect to the Wonka story? What
there
does
is a
that?
whole thing. There's a whole thing. But I just want to talk about her performance, because we all know Olivia Colman, right? You know, very sweet, very great actress. I mean, the most crazy we have seen her was in the Great, right? When she played the was it the Great with
You might be.
Emma Stone and Rachel Weisz.
Yeah,
I'm
I
pretty
think
sure it was
so.
the Great. She was even nominated, or she won an Oscar for that one, didn't she?
The Great. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I was looking the yeah.
So that was one of the first performances where we saw her kind of in a less serious, more eccentric role. So here we get Olivia Colman more as a Bellatrix Lestrange, whose sister, twin sister is this American murder serial killer.
American serial killer woman?
Yeah. What's her name?
You're talking about that TV show, or are you talking about something in real life?
Alien Werners. Is that how you pronounce your Eileen
Alien?
Werners? Okay, so Olivia Colman embodies Bellatrix Lestrange and Alien Werners, who's like a serial killer, who's just like one of the most famous serial killer on the planet. And she gives this performance in Wonka, and it's just something that you're not expecting, and she easily becomes one of the most like the trickiest, scariest, the most vicious villains of all time. Like that was really, really great touch, which just takes me to this whole casting, like incredible job. And I talked to you a little bit about it, that I just wish there were awards, like bigger awards for casting ensemble, because what Paul King decided to put here is just astonishing.
Yeah, I was
Who
gonna
did?
say, like, the SAG Awards, like their biggest award is, you know, ensemble cast. So like, if a movie wins, like the basically the last award they give out at the SAG Awards is the whole cast of a movie gets awarded. So definitely, I think we can keep an eye on this movie for potentially at least being nominated. Not sure if it's gonna win it, but
Right.
definitely there's examples out there in other movies where nowadays, like, producers love packaging a movie with like all the stars they can possibly pack in, and it doesn't always work out. We've seen plenty of examples of that, and maybe like Bike Riders is an example of that. That's why Disney like took it off the schedule and is trying to sell it to another studio, despite the fact that it has an all-star cast with Austin Butler, Tom Hardy, Jodie Comer, and not to mention like 100 other people in there too. But there are like examples where you see an ensemble cast and it's cast almost perfectly. I think people
Yeah.
still, it's a very mainstream example to go to, but people still go back and look at the first Avengers movie. And I know it wasn't like the cast everybody for that movie. They had already been cast in previous movies, but when the original six Avengers character, whether it was Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man,
Yeah.
or Chris Evans
But
as Captain
but
America,
that's
and
exactly it.
just
That's the
fits so
gamble.
well.
That's
Yeah,
the gamble they had to do, because there's one thing to have a standalone movie with an actor that embodies this character perfectly, but what happens when they throw all of them together on the screen, whether the magic can maintain? And that's exactly what happened here. Let's see, we have Keegan Michael Key as this ludicrous officer that is always on the Wonka's bat. Like, well played. Matt Lucas, Matthew Byton, Patterson Joseph. Slagworth, right? Wasn't he the guy from the Cody and uh, the Twins
Zack
series?
and Cody.
Yes, I'm pretty sure he was in there, because I was like, I recognize this maliciousness from somewhere. Zack and
I don't
Cody
know.
does the deck life, right? And the hotel life. But I
Two
might
Life
be
on
wrong.
Deck?
No, that's not him. Never mind. Scrap that. Not him. Different actor. But yeah, he was in the Peep Show and stuff. Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense. But anyway, the three other villains, they worked together so well. They also had like their dance and their singing moment, and it was just well done. Despite them not being dancers or professional singers, they did it beautifully. And I mean, for you, obviously, it was the Rowan Atkinson feature. But for me, the biggest selling point was Hugh Grant as Oompa Loompa. 10 years ago, if you told me Hugh Grant's going to do a face of Oompa Loompa, because I know, you dislike it because it's a CGI. You like this whole more tangible
Practical
aspect of
approach.
Oompa Loompas.
But it was
Yeah.
because they probably did like motion capture and facial capture, and then
Yeah.
practically animated the whole character. Because yeah, he looks like Hugh Grant, but that's not Hugh Grant you're seeing on screen. It's
But you believe it's Hugh Grant.
I got yeah. That I don't know. I just didn't like. I just felt like this. Okay, the production design on the surface looks fantastic, but there's just some things about it that bothered me. And I just thought that I've always really thought that the way how clever they were with not only how they cast Oompa Loompa, how they portrayed the Oompa Loompas, but then how they shot and all the VFX magic that went into Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the Johnny Depp version. In that version of the movie, you see the way they have Oompa Loompas, whether it's they're using various different kinds of technologies to like duplicate the same person, record in multiple. Like there's a lot of clever stuff that happened there, and despite all of the clever stuff that they did, they managed to keep like every iteration of a Oompa Loompa you saw on screen was 100% a real person, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, and here's the thing, looking and just going off the trailers alone, and again, maybe the trailers don't show the final VFX, and they probably don't show me the majority of the performance, but it just felt like you could tell that the Oompa Loompa was animated, so it didn't look real to
Yeah.
me.
That was the only, but that was it kind of worked because Oompa Loompa was the only really abnormal thing about it. So even though I keep saying this is completely fictional and magical place, there was some sort of grounding reality in it all. Whereas when Oompa Loompa showed up, that was almost like a cherry on top of ridiculousness. And that weirdness, this like the character, like this animated Oompa Loompa standing out helped the story, like helped the movie, because that was something out of this world. So I don't know. And to maybe defend it slightly, I think what Hugh Grant had to do on the screen, yeah, probably required him to be sized down. So there's a lot more to him than to what you see in the trailer. In the trailer, you get maybe a tenth of or maybe a fifth of what you actually get to see him do on the screen. As for the rest of VFX, I was seriously impressed with some of the shots. Like there's this one, without spoiling what's going to happen at the end, there's this one shot of a set and building turning into something, and it almost looked like an artistic installation. It looked very it had this nice juxtaposition of roughness and colorfulness, and this
They look very
the
photoreal.
vibrant colors. Pardon?
Yeah. Are you going for the word photoreal? Like it looked very.
No, it's not photoreal. It's
Okay.
more of it's this clash. So I have a specific painting in mind that does that. But anyway, it's this roughness connected with those super bright colors, and I don't know. It just looked very artsy. This final event on the screen.
Yeah.
But
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
there's just one more thing, that there's a lot of little things. For example, when I wanted to say Charlie, when Willie's opening his travel factory, he has like a travel factory that I think you get to see in the trailer, so I'm not spoiling it too much.
He's a like in a briefcase travel
in a
factory?
briefcase, yeah. Okay. So he like opens it, and all those little components are opening up. And of course it's VFX, but it looks so realistic to the point that I don't know, I think I was almost able to smell it, like smell the chocolate production in the air,
You
especially
sure
when
you
he was
didn't go to one of
describing it.
those 4DX theaters where you
Imagine. Oh my goodness, Willy like Wonka movie in the 4D experience. That would have been awesome. Anyway, like all those little things, all the sort of magic intertwined by very clever magical tricks, like that's another thing. The movie's constantly shifting this, what's magic, what's actually a magical trick, because there's a lot of things that you're like certain characters were really good with their hands, like they were making things that they were kind of destroying the illusion effect, so you were able to see, okay, this is magical trick, but then there was something magical happening. I think there is a giraffe in the trailer, but if there isn't, then let's cut it out, but I'm pretty sure it is, so I can talk about it. The giraffe is the giraffe,
like tall neck,
an animal, yeah. Am
an
I
animal giraffe.
pronouncing it
Okay.
right? The giraffe, yeah.
No. I'm just kind of dumbfounded by the fact that there's a giraffe in the, okay.
There is a giraffe. There is like an important giraffe in the film. That's the only annoying special effect that I just couldn't stand. I was like, take it away from me. Like it was so horrific. And there's a one scene where okay, there's one spoiler I'm gonna give. Someone is milking the giraffe and the whole thing was just so uncomfortable. Yeah,
that was okay.
there is a giraffe milking incident.
Interesting.
Not once, but twice, maybe. No, once. Yeah, that's why, like, that's as far as I go. That made me extremely uncomfortable, and this is the only time that, like, yeah, I really hated the special effects. Not hated, but it bothered me. It made me uncomfortable, actually. Yeah, I'll go with uncomfortable.
That's interesting.
Milking giraffe. Yeah.
Right. Well, I have like two more follow-up questions, but I'm gonna try to keep these short. So one of the things that I've been wondering, so you mentioned this is like a prequel to the Gene Wilder movie, and whether that's official or not, I mean, I guess that doesn't matter at the end. They can still probably go.
I mean, I'm just going by what Timothee Chalamet said. He said
was it like
in
a
the interview.
Did he mean to say like a spiritual, and it's more just like that's how he played it, or how did he mean it, do you think? Like was literally this is meant to be a prequel to that?
I think he said this was meant to be a prequel. So for those of you who want to check out that interview, it's the latest Graham Norton show. It's amazing, by the way. There's Julia Roberts, Tom Hanks, and Cher on the show, and Timothee Chalamet. Sorry,
of course, Tom Hanks. That's always fun.
Yeah, it's an incredible assemble they had on there. But yeah, it's a good episode. But that's what he says, and that's what I got it from. He says that it's a prequel.
The Graham Norton, I don't know who. I would love to talk to his booking producer, because that guy gets more people on, like, more A-list stars on a couch any given day than I think any late night show out there. It's crazy how you can have like 5 A-listers and all of a sudden, like, they're all, I mean, yeah, every once in a while, like,
good energy.
Avengers cast will show up to like a late night show in New York for like Jimmy Fallon or something like that, or Jimmy Kimmel, but like it's with Graham Norton, it just seems like just any time of year he's able to pull in, like, Tom Hanks, Julia Roberts, Timothée Chalamet, like, and they didn't even work on the same project. It's just they're just there together. So
I think the energy is just so much better. That's why when the actors hear that they're, there's opening for that, fun. They just go for that. Exactly.
It's so good.
They know it's
really
the right vibe.
All right, so I don't know if there's going to be a sequel to this movie. I think a lot of it will depend on the financial performance of this film. And of course, so far, it's already made like 30 million in the markets that it's released in. It's not come out in North America yet. I don't know if it's going to get a China release. That might be something, I think you can look at the article on Deadline that we were looking at earlier. But I had to ask, what, where do we see Wonka at the beginning? Like, because how much younger is he? And then, without giving me any spoilers, and if it is a spoilery, if you can't do it without spoilers, then maybe you can say that you can't do it without spoilers. But where do we end the story here? Like, because I'm wondering, like, what's the timeline here? Like, what was the goal of this movie? Was this just to kind of show a young Willy Wonka for the sake of showing a young Willy Wonka, or was it just
Oh, so
like,
essentially
because
maybe
this is
this
not
is
how he became Willy Wonka, right? Like, what is,
no,
how would you
he
put
is
it?
Willy Wonka. No,
Purpose,
no, no. So
yeah,
he is Willy Wonka. It's more about how he gets to what happens before we get to see him in the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Because you can see in the trailer he
yeah.
arrives into this town and he's trying to start selling chocolate. So he's up against those three chocolate
Tears.
merchants, dealers, and essentially there's a lot of
Yeah,
sort of subtext to dealing, and the whole thing is just hilarious, and it's so fun to see a film where chocolate is a commodity, a chocolate is treated as a currency. It was so fun, very genius, very clever use of a theme, you know, because we in Charlie and Chocolate Factory we see chocolate as just this marvelous thing that rules it all, and you know it's the yummiest tastiest thing, but it's still very much a chocolate. Here chocolate is pretty much a currency. You can do anything if you have chocolate, if you have access to chocolate, if you eat chocolate. So chocolate is as this that's why Wonka makes it a perfect holiday season, because of course we do tend to navigate more towards the sweetness of the festivity and stuff. Like
yeah,
I love my chocolate. Like, oh
yeah.
my goodness. Anyway, also being in Switzerland, it's like it didn't help. Today I went through a half a bar of chocolate after watching Wonka. So yeah,
Yeah, it's
it
definitely,
has this
you know,
magic.
they make Wonka, like, so I don't know which, so one of the chocolate makers out, chocolatiers or chocolate making companies out there, they have got the rights to the Wonka brand, and so you can actually buy
Yeah.
a Wonka chocolate bar. It's like, I
Yeah.
wonder how much more of that we're gonna see if this movie becomes a bigger hit, like whether
Yeah.
they're gonna try to do a tie-in or something like that.
Do you know what I love the most? Who picked up on the whole chocolate phenomena? Mr. Beast. He's selling his own freaking chocolate. And
Wow.
apparently it's pretty
Okay.
good. It's pretty good. I heard, so I heard. But yeah, anyway, so to go back to your question, we get to see how does Willy Wonka, coming from obviously nothing, because obviously we have flashbacks to Sally Hawkins, Willy's mom. How does
Which we didn't really
little
see
boy?
that in
Pardon?
any of the other iterations. We have never kind of seen
No, we never
that
see his
part of his life.
family. So we
Yeah.
see his we get the understanding why chocolate, or why making people happy is his driving factor. So there's a whole backstory, and obviously all the other characters kind of complete it. Noodle and all the other ones. There's this there's yeah, four other kind of his friends essentially that are kind of key in Wonka's transformation. So we get to see his explanation to his driving factors, why he's becoming Willy Wonka that we know in the Depp and the Wildest version. And it makes sense. First of all, I really like that they made it in the way that even both Wilder and Depp versions sort of make sense. It fits in. Two, as a standalone movie, it's bloody, like it's so bloody strong. It's a good movie. So obviously the ratings are showing that, and I'm sure this number might go up. I can't believe, I don't think it's gonna go down. I really don't think people will find things wrong with it, like
It's,
horrifically wrong with it. But
yeah.
I must say the second half of the film was weaker than the first one. There were moments in the second one where I was like, okay. And the finale was it was big, but I don't know. Because it had such a strong opening, I think I was expecting a little bit of more of a oomph. And I think I didn't have that oomph. And maybe that's my only criticism. And the fact that one for Dan, Rowan Atkinson is not more like shown more often, but he's there. When he's there, it's prime time.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, he's such a talented actor. I would just, yeah, I can watch him all day. Anyway, I think I've made that point plenty already in this whole review. Look, ultimately, this movie's fate is going to be tied to how it performs over the holiday season. The holiday season really only just beginning. We're kind of in the first week of December right now, so it's already releasing in many parts of the world. It's performing quite well, but it's going to ultimately, how well does it perform in the North American market? Does it get a release in China? All of that is going to matter, and then of course, it's going to have the runway to make some money in January as well. So let's see how it ends up, because I'm sure, given that the cast, Timothee Chalamet here is, who's pretty gosh darn young, and then you've got a lot
He's
of runway
27
here for sequels.
27
exactly.
years old, and he's embodying the next thing for him is Bob Dylan. He's playing a young Bob Dylan. Like
Yep.
this guy's manager deserves all the awards out there.
Well, it's not just, it's like Tom Holland's going to be playing Fred Astaire in a biopic of him. I mean, of course, Tom Holland being one of the other, up and coming rising stars in Hollywood still. I definitely think there's franchise potential to this. They'll probably try to. I think that's probably in the back of Warner Brothers' minds. But it would depend on how well this does.
But Dan, Timothee started with Chris Nolan's Interstellar. That was his first role at the age of what, 19? Was it 18, 19?
Yeah.
He did Call Me by Your Name, where he landed himself an Oscar nomination, followed by Dune, Wes Anderson, which that's something I forgot to add, that what really helped Timothee, I think, was the small part that he played in Wes Anderson's French Dispatch, sorry, and French Connection.
Two very different movies.
Yeah, very different movies. That really helped him to get out of and do this quirkiness, this kind of more campy, more flamboyant kind of skill set. It really served him. So I suppose if you want to do more challenging, more crazy movies like this, you should go through Wes Anderson.
It's good to see that he's also, I mean, in general, you look at his IMDb page, like for Timothée Chalamet, he's already got such incredible variety, and I'm sure he's going to continue to add to that. And like I said, this movie, if it does well financially, it most likely will get a sequel. And I don't know how much they spent making this movie, but it's under 2 hours. So it's a pretty brisk running time. And, it's a family movie. There's singing and dancing. I'm sure if it's rated well and the audience responds to it, they'll come back and see it multiple times over the holiday season. But guys, let us know in the comments below. What do you think about Wonka? Have you gone and seen it yet? Are you looking forward to going to see it? Did Mags do a good enough of a job to convince you to go see it if you weren't interested? And of course, if you were interested, are you even more excited? Or if you already saw it, then give us your comments. Tell us what you thought about it.
Let us know. And bear in mind, 2 hours, it's a perfect time. Trust me. You don't want Wonka to be any shorter or longer. I think they were careful with the running time, and it paid off.
Let us know what you thought about it. Did you have to get up and take a break to go to the restroom a few times? I mean, it's not even 2 hours. You take out the credits, you probably just like an hour 45 maybe. So let us know in the comments what you thought about the film. Like and subscribe for more content like this. We'll be back doing more movie reviews on the Dan Show, on Also Curious, and of course on DC Daily as well.